You often run into games that stake their whole structure and appeal on a singular mechanic, but sadly, these mechanics aren't always fun. Developed by the studio which was founded by the co-creator of Life is Strange, Ashwalkers is an atmospheric, narrative-driven adventure that is intriguing in its early moments, but the game becomes repetitive and dull very quickly. Given its name and setting, Ashwalkers made the decision to be entirely grayscale. At times, this decision pays off as it sets the mood for a distinct post-apocalyptic adventure. On the other hand, it often makes the game look flat and dull, and at times can make things hard to see, which hinders your gameplay. It looks like there wasn't enough contrast at times. The music is a few tracks of forgettable atmospheric pieces. It works to set the mood, but it's nothing that'll stick with you when you're done. Set in a post-apocalyptic world where ash is ever present and conditions are cruel, Ashwalkers is an atmospheric, narrative-driven, point-and-click survival adventure. But as a result, there wasn't much to the gameplay. Ashwalkers excels at providing the atmosphere and survival aspect, but it fails at others. It's basically mandatory to enjoy world building, as that's a huge appeal of the style of the game and the story that Ashwalker is trying to tell. The players control a group of scouts that were sent from the Citadel. The dome they call home is crumbling and the residents of the dome must relocate to survive. It helps that the cast is likable, but for the most part, Ashwalkers is about exploration. Throughout the game, the players must learn about how the disaster has shaped the world. And for a narrative-driven game, this borderlines on being generic, but it's serviceable enough. A majority of the gameplay revolves around survival mechanics and inventory management. As you walk through the harsh terrain, you need to manage health, hunger, warmth, energy, motivation, all with a very limited amount of items. I found that the inventory was implemented in an engaging and compelling manner, but if you're not a fan of the feature, you'll probably check out pretty quickly. Players will also need to make choices during gameplay. Each of the scouts on your team has a different outlook and perspective on events. Petra, the captain, has a strategic outlook. Sin, a warrior, takes a combative approach. Cowie, an optimistic researcher, takes a diplomatic approach. And Nadir, a veteran scout, errs on the side of caution and isolation. You often run into decisions that will have to be made with these perspectives, which will shape events throughout your adventure. There are also moments where the paths will diverge and you'll have to make choices. The game starts with the mission to get to the Dome of Domes, but a lot happens in your journey and the narrative reflects that, with branching paths that lead to 34 different endings. The whole gimmick of Ashwalkers are these endings. Each run of Ashwalkers lasts about 2 hours, but to make up for that, it has all of these different endings. There's an inherent problem with this though. There's only so many times you can go over and replay the same story, go to the same places before you get tired of it. Additional paths will often converge back into the same places, so there isn't really much difference when you try and explore new routes. And there's only 3 major different types of endings depending on your location you go up in. And within these 3 major types of endings, a lot of the endings are simple variations upon each other. Many endings are just a result of your last choice, and from a player's perspective, the only difference between these endings is a predictable slideshow highlighting a character archetype that makes the final choice. Early playthroughs provided a decent variation between runs, but after a while these differences were so minor that I eventually gave up at attempting full runs. There's no saves, but you can do a custom run that'll drop you in one of the various locations. If I had to play through the whole 2 hours to get the same experience with only a slightly different PowerPoint presentation in the end, I would have lost it. A large part of this game is also just walking, so in the later ones I really would have appreciated having a fast forward option, so I can get to the decisions that would change things instead of just walking over the same places over and over again. I get that this would have diminished the atmospheric experience a bit, but playing through the same game over and over also diminishes the themes. The narrative can also be very anticlimactic, as most of the lore is told through collectibles or brief interactions. Still, the atmosphere carries most of the weight and supports the situation the characters are in. Ashwalkers provides a great first impression through its atmosphere and mechanics, but each playthrough weighs on that experience. The repetitive nature of this adventure simply has you playing until you wear yourself out after so many of the different endings are so similar to each other. These 2-hour gameplay loops had me wishing for longer paths or just something else because there's a good foundation here, but its repetitive nature ultimately leaves the adventure unfulfilling. Noisy Pixel gives Ashwalkers a 7 out of 10. Thanks for watching, this is Noisy Pixel signing off. If you're interested in more information about this game, please check out the Noisy Pixel website where we have news and written reviews. If you're interested in content like this, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to be notified about our future content, and have a great day.